To introduce you to the different types of content in PeakSignage, it's best to start with the most common, playlists. Whether you have uploaded your own images and videos or created a slide in our content editor, playlists is where you can organize them into a single presentation. More specifically, you can determine how long each asset will play, when they are scheduled, and what order they play in. To start with creating a playlist, go to your Contents menu. You will notice a navigation bar to view specific content types. Select Playlists or All. Once you are in the right view, click on the red plus icon at the top of your Contents menu and select Create Playlist. I will name my playlist Corporate and select Create and Open. Once in the playlist editor, you will notice it is broken down into 3 sections: the Navigation panel, Asset panel, and Timeline panel. The Navigation panel is used to sort through the file folders located in your file manager. Depending on the folder you have selected in the Navigation panel, this will affect what media assets you see in the Asset panel. You will notice this as I select my Dallas and Houston folders. Once within a folder, you can return to your main files by selecting My Files. This will take you back to where you originally started. Lastly, in the section all the way on the right is the Timeline panel. You can simply add your assets to your playlist by dragging and dropping them. I'll demonstrate this by adding a few more to the Timeline panel. Remember, as you are adding files to your timeline, you can always click into your folders in the Asset panel instead of the Navigation panel. Once in the timeline, you can rearrange the order your assets will play in by dragging them. You can also change how long each asset will play by adjusting the seconds above each asset. In this case, I will change all my files to 20 seconds. While these steps showed you how to build your playlist, you may want to schedule certain assets to play at certain times. You can do this by hovering over the asset and selecting the Set Scheduling option. While this won't be covered right now, we will go over this in a later session. You may find that you need more space to manage the timeline of your playlist. You can adjust this by clicking the View Selector icon followed by Timeline. The Timeline view allows you to reorganize your playlist more freely, as well as define how long your assets are going to play for. You may have noticed there is another view called Scheduler, but this will be covered at a later date in our scheduling video. Now that you understand how the playlist editor works, we will now see how to change the playlist settings. You can get there by clicking on the gear icon in the top right corner. Once in the playlist settings, you will see that you can change things such as the default duration of assets, as well as aspect ratio and resolution of the playlist. We won't change any of these for now, but we will use these later as we build our playlist. Before we build out our playlist any further, let's cover the other types of assets that you can add to your playlist. If you want to add more than full-screen images and videos, you may want to add a slide instead. A slide is a one-page content that was built in our content designer. In most cases, these are used for showing more dynamic information like weather forecast, social media feeds, etc. But in other cases, they can be used for creating static designs that will change often. For example, event announcements and employee birthdays. To add a slide to your playlist, you must first find them by selecting the slides icon to the left of the playlist editor. When selected, you will notice that the Navigation panel goes away and your slides are now visible in your Asset panel. Just like with any asset, you can drag and drop your slides into your playlist and adjust the amount of time it will play for. Much like slides, you can also add slide templates to your playlists. You can view these by selecting the templates icon above slides. Templates are helpful when a user has made a slide that they want to use repeatedly or if they want to allow someone else to use it without modifying the original. Templates also act as a good starting point for most users because oftentimes their company's logo and colors were set when the slide was first made. If set up correctly, this can be very helpful for larger organizations who want to maintain their branding standards while allowing others to contribute to the signage. However, please keep in mind that before you can see any of these templates, you must first create a templates folder and add your slides into that folder. To do this, we will have to navigate back to the Contents menu. To create a templates folder, you will start by creating a normal content folder. To do this, click on the red plus icon and select Add Folder. When the pop-up appears, we will name this new folder Templates. Lastly, toggle the Local Template Folder option and press Save. Before your slide templates appear in the playlist editor, you must first move your slides into that folder. You can do this by hovering over your slides and selecting them one by one. Once selected, press the Move to Folder icon. In the pop-up, select the Templates folder and press Confirm. Now that we've introduced templates, let's discuss the last type of asset, playlists. That's right. You can embed a playlist within another playlist. This is often used when you need to merge multiple playlists together. To view your other playlists, select the Playlists icon. In this case, my other playlist is located in my Houston folder. Once you have located a playlist, you will see that you can drag it into the timeline panel. Because playlists have multiple assets inside of them, you will notice that it doesn't have a duration assigned to it like the other slides. By default, playlists will play for their entire duration before moving on to the rest of the assets in the playlist. However, we can change this logic by selecting the settings or gear icon above the playlist. Once in the pop-up, you will see the item shuffle mode setting. The default option is serial, which means that all of your playlist's assets will play when it's time to in the playlist, as opposed to the balanced option, which only plays a single asset. You can also define the ordering mode, which determines the order in which the assets will be played back. In most cases, random is preferred. Once complete, press Save and your settings will be applied. Now that you have a good understanding of how to build a playlist and the assets you can use, let's start this playlist from scratch and build it based on a specific scenario. In this case, I am a company with offices in Dallas and Houston. I want to build a playlist that will be assigned to our screens in Houston, but I want to show corporate assets along with the playlist that is managed by our team in Houston. However, I want the corporate assets to play more frequently than the ones in the Houston playlist. More specifically, I only want to play a single asset from the Houston playlist each time it is its turn. Lastly, I would also like to add a company birthday slide that I made, as well as a weather and welcome template that our marketing team made for us already. To begin, let's rename our playlist to indicate that this will be combining our corporate and Houston assets. Once complete, press Save. It is now time to add our corporate assets to the playlist timeline. However, I haven't already uploaded these. While I could go into the File Manager, I can save a few steps by clicking on the red plus icon and selecting Add File. This prevents you from having to leave the playlist to upload new assets. Once I have selected the files I want to upload, select the Upload button. Before we add our assets to the timeline, we should first set the default duration of the playlist. This ensures that each asset's duration will be the same with the exception being videos. Each individual asset's duration can be changed independently, but this helps save time as they are added to the timeline. To get started, click on the playlist settings icon at the top of the playlist editor. When the pop-up appears, change the default duration to 15 seconds. Once finished, press Confirm. We can now begin dragging our assets into the timeline. Let's start with the assets that we recently uploaded. Once in the timeline, we can move one of the images to the top by dragging it. Now that we have added our assets, let's click on the slides icon so we can start adding them. In this example, I only want to add my employee birthday slide. Once complete, let's move on to adding our templates. Just like we did before, let's drag in our two templates, one for the weather forecast and the other for welcoming visitors into our office. For the final step, it is time to add the playlist that our Houston office manages. To add this, once again, go to the left side of the playlist editor to click on the playlists icon. In my case, the playlist is located in the Houston folder. Once visible, drag it into the timeline. We will now click on the gear icon above the playlist so we can set it to only play one asset at a time. We do this by setting the item shuffle mode to balanced. Additionally, we will set the ordering mode to random. Once complete, we can press save. The final step when creating a playlist is saving your changes. You can do this by clicking the save icon at the top. You can also preview your playlist by pressing the play button. You should now feel more comfortable creating playlists with different types of content, such as slides, slide templates, and media assets. Not only that, but you have also learned how to merge multiple playlists together and adjust how they play back. These core principles are crucial when it comes to managing your content and deploying it to screens. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next one.